We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. Also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey, everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Hey, everyone, it's Andrew. Before we get too in-depth into what's going to be broken down on this episode of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast, we just want to go ahead and toss out there that I'm sure a lot of you out there have heard about all these things going on in Hollywood right now. You know, it's covering the news. It's nuts. We just want to say, hey, listen, you know, Hollywood, you guys got to stop worrying about the other stuff. You know, become good people, make great movies, give us content to talk about on the Forgot to Grow Up podcast. Don't worry about the other stuff. Just give us good movies. Stop worrying about other stuff.
On a lighter note, we want to welcome everybody to episode 4, can you believe we made it there, of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast. This week...
Mama, we made it.
This week we're going to talk about our suggested crossover episodes of TV shows, movies, that kind of thing. We're going to go into our top 5 personal picks for the best Marvel films. We're going to answer some questions that we got on YouTube and other places like that, and then we're going to talk about what we watched this week. So, Scott, I understand you've got some excellent crossover episode ideas.
Well, I've got a few. I can't take credit for all of them. We were discussing this before the podcast. A few of these, I can't remember if they were ones I've read about before or if I came up on my own. So I don't want to take full credit for a few. But before we do get too into any of the ones I came up with, I want to just say there are some obvious ones like DC versus Marvel, Avengers versus X-Men. I don't really want to get too in depth into those ones because there's a lot of videos and podcasts who discuss really obvious ones. But one of the more unique ideas I had that my brother actually helped me come up with was the show Supernatural crossing over with Constantine, the canceled Constantine TV show, as a way of
that would be a good show.
As a way
I
of bringing,
remember that.
Yeah, so a way of bringing Constantine back was he would come back for like a half a season with the Supernatural boys because they have a really dedicated following, and because they both handle supernatural things, obviously it's a show's name, Supernatural. Constantine would fit in pretty well, and it'd be a way of sneaking them into the DC universe out of nowhere. Or we could have it as a I didn't think they'd be on the same world as necessarily as Constantine maybe gets thrown.
Almost have it as a world like a World 38 or whatever.
Exactly,
type thing,
he gets sent to
have the Flash accidentally run by in an episode while they're dealing with a demon.
Well, what I was thinking was maybe a demon would be come by, would to get rid of Constantine to stop him from interfering. He would send him to this other Earth, right? And this Earth would be the Supernatural Earth. Because in the Supernatural, I'm not sure if you two have watched it too much, but in the Supernatural
a little bit.
At one point they get sent to another Earth too. So it's already canon in Supernatural that they have multiple dimensions.
They have the multiverse.
Exactly, right. So it's we could easily show it that Constantine gets somehow thrown over into Supernatural, then has to spend a season with the guys trying to figure out some way to get him sent back, because it's not super easy in the Supernatural world because they don't have as much technology, because they don't have all the Marvel stuff. But it'd be cool because he'd have all this magic and different abilities that he could bring to that show, and he'd kind of be just another Castiel, but he'd be kind of like a sassier one, so that's my first idea.
He'd be like their British cousin or something.
Exactly, that's what they'd say. And I'm always down to have an extra dude with an accent, and I can't remember.
Oh, no wonder Mom never wanted to talk to you. I like it.
Yeah.
What else you got for us?
So another one I had. This one I think was actually a comic. I know that, but it was Superman and Batman versus Aliens and Predator, and I was just that just sounds like a wacky good old time. And I thought with DC now trying pitching some Elseworld type stories or alternate type stories that don't fall in the DC universe with the not Justice League, the Joker.
Like Dark Knight Metal or whatever,
Yeah,
like that type of thing?
Exactly,
Okay.
right? So I would think it would be cool to like see like kind of an alternate kind of movie where you have like maybe Bruce Wayne's like taking a nap and he envisions or something stupid like that, you know what I mean? And it's like just a dream, but it's him and Superman are off on another thing. Or it's, some fan of Batman and Superman, who reads about them in the newspaper and stuff in that universe, and he has some dream, and it's, Batman versus Superman chasing down the aliens and the predators that are like invading Earth, and they have to like fight them off. And I thought that'd be kind of a cool, maybe even animated movie, because we might not be able to get Ben Affleck and that, but,
and Henry Cavill.
exactly. But if we could, I'd love that, because I'm
directed by Ridley Scott.
I don't know about that one. I don't know. He's kind of fallen off lately, but maybe. But whatever would work. What kind of ideas do you have though? Because those are the two best ones I have. I only got one more, which I'll touch on after.
I just want to say your Batman versus Superman versus Alien and Predator thing. It reminds me of like one of my favorite cutaways from Family Guy. One of my favorite shows. They do a cutaway where there's a guy in a coma sitting there like just trying to think of stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, Batman versus Predator. Why hasn't anyone ever come up with this?
That is a thing.
And he's like, I got to get a pen. Oh crap, I can't write. This is probably why my wife shot me. And that's kind of just the joke. And I was like, man, Batman versus Predator, I would watch that shit. And now you're pitching it right now.
Well,
I like it.
I can't take full credit for that. That one I know is a comic book. Same with Batman versus Predator. If you do want to check that out, that is a Dark Horse DC
I'll have to.
crossover. I haven't checked it out yet, but I read a lot about comics that exist, and then I never read them. Does that make sense? I read the title, and I'm like, oh, that one exists. That's cool. I should eventually get to that. I own one comic book.
You're poor, man. It's cool. It's cool.
I don't know. There's only a few comic book stores that are hard to get to. When I get there, they're organized weirdly. The staff is awkward. They're more awkward than I am, and I'm an awkward person sometimes in person. And they're more awkward than me, so it's like, oh, I can't buy anything. All I wanted to know was where a Batman comic book was, and they couldn't help me. But yeah, so those were my ideas. Do you want me to go into my third one, or do you want to pitch an idea now, man?
Might as well.
Okay.
Might as well.
So the last idea I had that was I thought would be cool was Terminator and the Matrix doing a crossover.
Oh.
All right. Okay.
Like, how are you picturing this? Because I'm picturing it as a Schwartzy. He's playing like was it Mr. Smith or whatever his name is.
Almost.
Like the
almost.
Like because that would be sweet.
So Skynet is the robots then. So it'd be an alternate past that they go back and they end up actually killing John Connor in the storyline, right?
Damn.
So then that's what leads to the Matrix world being able to happen. So instead of them being Skynet becomes the Matrix, right? But then that has Arnold in there instead of like the Agent Smiths, and you have different things like that. And instead of having like a Neo story, because it'd be the Matrix universe without like necessarily having all the Matrix characters. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So we could replace
that story on top of
that setting.
The Terminator
yeah,
thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then we'd have
cool.
the Terminators, they'd have taken. So Skynet took over the world, and they made the world into the Matrix. Right, so they got all the people hooked up, and
made like a digital
exactly. So
version.
they have to have a Neo type character / a John Connor type character, but it's a new character that like awakens in the Matrix, realizes it's not it's a fake world, right? And he has to try and escape. And it's about him.
Let's call this character Craig.
Sure,
Let's call it
I like
Craig.
it. So Craig has to escape the Matrix that's being run by the Terminators, and then but once he gets out of the Matrix, because that's part of this is going to be a trilogy, because we're going to throw it back to the Matrix. So a 3-part trilogy where he has to first escape the Matrix, and then once he's out, he's fighting against actual Terminators that are outside trying to get him to get back into it. And it's this whole thing where he's trying to free the whole human race from the Terminators who are running the Matrix all by himself.
The Terminatrix.
The Terminatrix.
The Terminatrix.
I like that. I didn't even bother coming up with the name.
Hey, listen, Hollywood, we got an idea for you.
Exactly. Those are the three
That's
ideas.
a callback to our last episode.
That's the second callback to the last episode. Same callback.
Same
Twice.
callback. 2 times.
I feel like that's going to be a common callback we go to. But those are my 3.
Always Schwartzy.
Yeah, always Schwartzy. Get in the chopper!
There it is. There's the
get
impression
in
that
my
I was
movies.
hoping
I was trying.
This is not the movie.
I did try to come up with more ideas that had Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, but I was just like, a lot of his things, he ends like his story is just
He dies, or
yeah, like he ends
or
or he
he's crippled or
wins,
something.
right? Like the Running Man, he
Yeah.
wins. So it's like, well, am I gonna take him out of the Running Man? Is he gonna get thrown into another one?
We're gonna make him the Walking Man.
Because he's that old now. So it's like, oh,
Call it the Walking Dead.
I love puns.
There we go, Craig. You tracking that?
I've got one pun and 2 callbacks. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, and the obligatory Schwarzenegger impression.
Of
There we
course.
go. These are important statistics.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When we publish our baseball card, we'll have all those stats on it.
I like that as a merch idea. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Action trading cards. But those were my 3 ideas, though. What pitches did you have for me today?
So for mine, they're not major things. They're just like, very small TV show crossovers.
I like it.
My first one I've got, it's basically just an intro to Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like sometimes
Okay.
they have those kind of far out there, like, intros that make no sense,
the best
but
cold
they're
opens
funny.
ever.
This one I'm thinking, you get Jake Peralta chasing a perp into McLaren's pub
Oh.
from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
That
And
was a twist I was expecting.
the guy runs around the corner and he tries to go hide in the bathroom. Peralta tackles the guy into the guy's booth. Into Ted Mosby, Lily, Marshall, Robin, Barney. They're all sitting there. He tackles the guy into the booth. He kind of looks up and he sees Randy. Randy, who's got the Warmpus Beer
Yes.
Company.
Yes.
He's a retired New York City cop, if any of you guys remember. And he just kind of looks at him. He's laying on top of the perp, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Randy." And he goes, da-da-da-da-da, and goes right into the intro sequence. That was my first crossover. What do you guys think?
That is fantastic. I would watch that.
It would be like 30 seconds.
That's all
and it
it's
would just
crossing
bring
over?
back. Yeah, that's it. Just the intro.
Yeah.
I like it. I kind of like it. A nice
Short, sweet.
just shows that they're in the same universe.
Okay, my second one. This one's a full episode crossover. It's another Brooklyn Nine-Nine one.
Oh, okay.
So this one I've got Sean and Gus from Psych. They get hired on as private investigators to come all the way to New York City and help
the
the
9-9?
Nine solve a case. And because Sean's so juvenile, of course him and Jake are gonna get along like amazing.
Yeah, they hit it off right away.
They're kids. They're gonna hit it off. And Gus is going to be sitting there like, look at this guy. 2 Seans? What's going on? And Boyle's just going to get super pissy because Jake's talking to someone who isn't Boyle.
But those 2 I feel are going to connect because their friends ditched them
because
a lot.
they're the dad characters,
It's
right?
true, yeah.
They kind of look after the other guy.
Yeah, that's very true.
So my third one, and I think this one actually is my favorite idea. A lot of people don't realize that like the Men in Black is actually a comic book
I knew that.
that's owned by Marvel.
I didn't know that part.
So my idea for a movie is it basically takes place in the entire MCU.
Yeah.
And it's like scenes from each of the big MCU movies brought together, and it's just like that movie in the background, like what's going on, like. Let's say the first Avengers movie. The Chitauri are coming down from space and they're raining down.
Yeah.
And it's the Men in Black just kind of J and K going through like New York City or wherever the movie's taking place. They find a Chitauri guy trying to hide out in like a sub shop, and they're like, boom, shoot him with a cricket or whatever.
Yeah.
And the movie's basically just around them trying to clean up, any and all alien problems that were involved with the Avengers.
Okay, so they're kind of like a shadow shield.
Yeah, it's not really a full crossover because they never intermingle, but it's like they're in the background of the Marvel universe.
I like this in the idea that they maybe they always, because they have the power to wipe people's memories, right? So that you could just see a bunch of scenes of them coming in and cleaning up shit, and then just clear everyone's memory and being like, yeah, you saved the day. Oh yeah, good
And
job,
then-
Captain America. You saved the day, clear
Yeah.
his memory, like, and then be like, so
And it turns out it's just Men in Black are heroes. Like, they're saving the world
exactly.
from everything.
That would be a pretty good parody, like of them kind of like poking fun at the Marvel, being like, oh, you guys didn't do anything. It's always us. We're here in the background. You guys just don't know.
Like, I remember a couple years ago they talked about doing that 22 Jump Street
Yeah.
crossover with the Men in
That
Black,
was one
which
that came to mind.
personally,
yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy that as much as I would love a Men in Black Avengers. Call it like Avenging Black or something like that.
Okay.
Like I would
Avenging Black.
love the.
I don't
I'm
know.
just-
I would love the
I'm
crap
just gonna
out of
up.
that show.
We're adding a new stat to our trading card. This is the portmanteau count.
Ooh. Come up with random names that work.
Well, a portmanteau is two words that are combined together to make one. So Terminatrix and Avenging Black is. That's
Yeah.
pretty close.
I thought it was a good movie title.
I feel like some people might get it mixed up, like think it's some kind of like political movie.
That's cool. That means
Like-
you're going to get more people who show up to see it.
Fair enough. Were those just
That's me.
That's all your 3 pitches?
That's my 3 pitches.
Okay. Our next segment we're going to be talking about our favorite
Well,
Marvels.
what about Craig? I
Oh,
thought Craig
did
was
Craig-
talking to us earlier.
Did Craig have a pitch?
Earlier
Man,
about.
I was
he
getting
had a
excited
crossover
about
that-
the fact that you were going to ignore me because my idea is nowhere near as good as yours. Because it's not actually an idea. I just wanted to reference the fact that one time Andrew and I were watching Beer Fest and we found Sean from Psych and it was amazing.
Beer Fest.
So
Das
we
Boot.
figured that it would be pretty hilarious if you saw it from the Psych perspective where it was Sean on a case at Beer Fest doing something. Who knows?
Just trying to figure some out. He went
That'd be an
deep
interesting
undercover.
episode. Like it crosses over in the background, like because he's in the background of the movie, right? So like he's then see it from his perspective.
His character in the movie is literally 15 seconds long, if that.
Yeah, but then like you see it from his perspective, and it's like he's actually there longer, but you're just seeing the background. So you just see a bunch of like people's butts
All the work he had to, all the work he had to go into to like
to
you
get
know
there. Yeah.
to infiltrate the German beer company.
Exactly. So that's all I had.
I love it.
Continue on with our next segment, which will also be bad for me. Continue.
So Andrew, what were your favorite 5 Marvel movies or best 5? I don't know
Okay.
which one we want to classify
So-
this as.
So these are my order of my top 5 Marvel movies. You know, everyone out there, feel free to disagree. I'm sure some of you guys you guys might like Ant-Man. That might be your favorite go-to, Marvel movie, which is fine. Fine. It's
We're
not
not
mine,
judging.
but it's yours. We're not judging. We love them all. These are just our top 5s, which I got to apologize. My top 5 is actually a top 6, guys.
It's okay. Mine's a top
Mine no-
4, so you can have one of mine.
I have the extra one. Okay.
Oh, but
See,
but I have a top 6 too.
Ugh,
I can
damn.
take one off. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, Scott. I'm pretty sure some of our orders are going to be similar.
Pretty close,
So like
yeah.
it. So my number 1A and my number 1B, I've got the Avengers, and then I've got Avengers: Age of Ultron. Like those are my number 1, and I'm pretty sure the only reason they're my number 1 is because it's just a whole gaggle of so many superheroes that I sit there and I'm just like,
What's not to
as
love?
a little boy, like getting psyched, right? Like I forgot to grow up, so like I'm just so pumped about it, right?
No, I understand, man. Definitely, those are 2 of the great ones. They're in my top 5. Like I don't have a specific order for mine, but those 2 are definitely in my top 5. It's a bunch of gags, and they're like I feel like some of the more fun of the movies. They don't try to go for any like specific theme. They're just like, yeah, this is gonna be a bunch of superheroes beating up a bunch of bad guys, and that's all.
Exactly.
Like some people complain
I'm-
about like them having like the endless amounts of like faceless robots and faceless aliens, right? Like just like they're not actual things. They're just things that they can hit. But I like that. That's all I want to see. I don't care.
You just want to see explosions,
Yeah,
right?
I just want to see all the different ways that they're going to be badass and like do things, like when Thor hammers the one dude's head, or when Hulk runs up the side of the building. Those are the things I want to see in these movies. That's why these 2 are great.
Like, I want the clever quips, like when when the Vision takes the hammer and swings it and smokes Ultron, and he's like, "This is terribly well balanced."
Yes.
And Thor's like, "Yeah, if it's too heavy, you lose power.
You lose
on the
power on the
swing."
swing. Yeah,
I just I love
that's
stuff
one of
like
my
that.
favorite lines.
The next movie on my list is Civil War, Captain America: Civil War. Again, I think it's just because it's a gaggle
team.
movie where
Yep.
there's so many superheroes crushed in.
Gotta love team ups.
No, number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, because I think for me for that one, A, it's the soundtrack.
That's a good soundtrack.
B, I think it's because it took a lesser known team and they brought it in and they said, let's just see if this works. And as everyone knows, Groot became famous overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people didn't know about Groot, and then all of a sudden, I am Groot.
I didn't know any of those characters before that movie.
Yeah, like I knew of like 2 of them. One was Rocket Raccoon, and the other one was Drax. I didn't know anything about the other guys before that movie came out, which gave me the opportunity to get involved in the movie, get like deep into it, and then go look into other stuff afterwards. Check out a few comics, watch a few series, do that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, man, I definitely agree. The Guardians of the Galaxy is in my top 5 as well. It was one of the more unique Marvel properties. It's got that fun, whacking space adventure feel to it, and again, it's a team up. A superhero team up is always the best. Like it's what they always say. If one's good, two's better. And then if two's good, why not have 5 people on a team? It's like
Exactly.
And I'm always down for that.
Three is company. 3 is not a crowd. 3 is company.
Exactly.
Everything else is a party.
And these movies are all just watching parties or cinematic parties.
Exactly.
And I love them because of that.
A big portion of my next movie is a party, and that's Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Oh, nice. I like that made your top
You
5.
see that segue inside of a segment. Spider-Man: Homecoming, and it wasn't because of the movie. I've heard it catch a lot of flack. I've given it a lot of flack myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't not put Spider-Man in there.
I understand that.
I love I grew up on the Peter Parker Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s. I grew up on that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put it in there just because it's Spider-Man. He's my boy. Number 5, and this one's gonna catch you off guard. It's Iron Man 3.
Ooh.
Iron Man 3.
I like that you're throwing me off a little bit. What? Tell me why the third Iron Man's your favorite. I want to know that.
Okay. I know it caught a lot of flack with the Mandarin being, kind of,
that like,
shown, and then they rip it away from you. I like Ben Kingsley. I think when he was doing the serious role, on the camera, it was good, and then they took it the wrong direction and made him just a drunk, homeless guy. Like, that was a problem. But I like that it was, it wasn't focused entirely on Tony Stark. It was showing his internal demons and his conflicts. Like, if they had not called it Iron Man, they should have called it, like, Tony Stark 1 or something
No,
like
I
that.
agree with that, because it was definitely more of a character story than...
Because
it's focused
he actually
on
spends more time... Yeah, he spends more time as Tony Stark than he does in his suit as Iron Man,
Which,
right?
especially, I agree. Like, especially compared to his first 2 movies, where he's mostly Iron Man. That's when you got to explore him as Tony Stark and that dark side of him having.
He goes
Iron Man.
beyond the genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. He goes beyond that, and he becomes just a guy. He's got PTSD after flying into the wormhole, and dropping the nuke
After Avengers, yeah.
Like after Avengers, he's got the PTSD from that he's trying to deal with. He's trying to save his buddy. He's trying to keep happy, healthy after he ends up in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Things are kind of rocky with Pepper. She gets kidnapped. Rhodey's back in it. He's got his problems that he's trying to figure out too as Iron Patriot in that movie. Super lame. He's totally War Machine.
Yeah, he got his.
But,
that's the one who gets his identity changed though, and right, like it's that movie that they change it. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. No. It's Iron Man 2 where they go from Terrence Howard to.
No, I meant his name, like him going from War Machine to Iron Patriot.
Oh yeah.
That was during the
was,
third one, right?
Yeah, because they did the focus groups they mentioned.
Oh right. Okay, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
See, that's why I like it. It goes more of a Tony Stark story and shows like his growth as a character.
Yeah.
And then from there, going into Age of Ultron and Spider-Man: Homecoming and all that stuff, Civil War, you get to see him kind of grow where he started off as a prick, and he becomes that that guy you kind of want to hate, but you can't because he is just deep down trying to do the best thing.
Yeah, he's trying
and
to do
he
the
is
best he
just
can.
a man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he is just a man, right? He's Tony Stark.
Yeah. No, I agree. I've always loved the Iron Man character. I mean, and the first Iron Man's actually the first thing on my list.
Oh, see, That was one of my honorary mentions. I mean, every other Marvel movie makes honorary mentions.
Obviously.
But that was like my number 6, technically 7, but 6.
Fair enough. Yeah, but the first one.
What are the rest on your list?
So the first is Iron Man, the first one, and that's just because it kicked off the MCU. It wasn't technically the first movie to come out, but it was the first one that like kind of kickstarted the movie. Well, I guess it came out before Thor then, or not Thor, the Incredible Hulk, right?
Yeah. Wait, the Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
It was Iron Man, and then it was Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, so it was the first one out, but it was the one that I also connected the most with. I feel like I kind of had lost interest in some superhero movies because of like some of the poorer ones that had come out before it. Obviously, I like the Batman ones, but like I wasn't as excited. I wasn't going to the theaters necessarily, but once I saw the first trailer for Iron Man 1, I was like, I have to see that. Like
it became a whole new type of superhero.
Exactly. He
movie,
officially made it like
all the other ones were kind of campy, whereas this one
Exactly.
could be possibly real world situation.
And I feel like that movie is the first one that like actually made it into a genre. Like before it was they were comic book movies, but they were action movies that had comic book characters. And that was
there weren't really sequels or anything. It was just its own individual story.
Exactly, right? And then so
okay,
it was the first one to like kick off actually like being like a genre and having a universe that like always connects, like, and that like that can be built upon, right? And that's why I have to love the first Iron Man. My second one is Avengers 1 and 2. So I guess the second would be 2A and B. And those, again, same reasons we talked about for B would be the same. It's that great team up. You see them come together. My favorite part is always seeing a team come together, like the awkwardness of these different personalities clashing, because they're all a bunch of alpha dudes. And one of my favorite scenes still is when like Thor and Iron Man like meet for the first time and have to fight it out in the middle of that forest.
Doth the magistrate know you weareth her drape?
Yeah,
or whatever it is he says.
Exactly. Like I just love that scene because I like when superheroes kind of clash at first, because it's like they don't always know. They're so like they're not the most trusting people sometimes, except for Captain America.
I think that was the best thing about Avengers 1 and even 2. Like it started off they were all individual players, right? And then, like you said, they eventually start to kind of work together. They figure out they have to work together.
Yeah, they can't do it on their own. And then, it's too much for
Avengers 2 it's they are a team, but they all have their little separate like working things, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Tony and Banner create Ultron.
They're the science bros.
Captain America's still kind of a self-righteous dickhead.
Yep.
Thor, he's like, I'm a god, nothing affects me, and Black Widow's just hot. So, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. So that's why that's number 2, and then 3 on my list would be Civil War. Again, you gotta love a team up, and I love when they fight, because I like that they know each other's weaknesses. That's one of my favorite things. Is when the superheroes, like, if superheroes are fighting each other, it's great because they already know each other's weaknesses because they used to be a team. So it's fun to see. Plus all the introduction of Spider-Man in that movie. You get to see Giant Man, like Ant-Man turned into Giant Man. That's a great scene. And just the fact that they put so much work in each of the action scenes, and it's a good story too. Like it's such an there are a couple plot holes. It's kind of like, well, he could, like, what's his name? The bad guy. He couldn't have planned out, he did plan it out, but
Baron Zemo?
Yeah, he couldn't have guaranteed that they were going to end up there, but I don't care. It's a plot device. Just leave it alone, people. I thought it was a good story. It was an interesting story. I liked that it was different than the villain trying to best them.
Beat his way out of it,
right? Let's say Marvel maybe 5-10 years ago, they might have gone the route of having him actually go and unfreeze those extra Winter Soldiers, right? And trying to control them, you know what I mean? Like 5-10 years ago.
That was one of those twists that threw you out that I really wasn't expecting.
Yeah, for them to be dead, I wasn't expecting that either. I was ready for him to fight them, and I was kind of like, oh, this is kind of lame. And they have to come together now to fight this guy, and that's how they're going to reunite at the end of this movie. But then they get there, and he shot them all, and the twist is he just wants to show this video, to just to get them to fight each other, and it's and it works. It's
and he's got that monologue he prepared.
He was all ready for it. Yeah.
stronger men than me have tried.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that twist on this classic story of not necessarily the villain because you could try and you might be more Team Cap or Iron Man, but like neither of them are the villains of the story, I would say, right? Like the villain of the story is Baron Zemo, but he's not the traditional villain, and he's not like the one that they had to physically punch, right? Like they don't actually ever punch him. Not once in the movie. I watched that on the weekend, and it's kind of funny. He only gets strangled. It's the only thing that happens to him that whole movie. He doesn't get touched at all otherwise, but he's the supervillain. So I like that twist that they took with Civil War. My fourth one is actually Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
See, that was another one that I was trying. Like, I liked they introduced Falcon, and it was less of a superhero movie and more of like we got to figure this out spy movie. Yep. But there's just something about Captain America, like. It's not Chris Evans. I think he plays the role perfectly.
It's his
just
character.
Something about Captain America rubs me the wrong way.
I can see that.
And I'm sure it's that self-righteous asshole attitude.
Yeah,
where he's always like, "Oh, I'm doing the right thing," and he just deep down believes that no matter what he does is the right thing.
Yeah, and I could see why you would clash with that, but I kind of like somebody who has that. Like, I respect that he has like principles. Like, I get, like, for you, he's kind of too extreme with it. I just respect that he has principles and that he sticks to it. I agree sometimes he can be a little douchey about it.
I think for myself, I think it's because like I come from like that legal background family. Yeah. Like my dad works in a prison, my uncle's a cop, my mom works in a law firm. Like I come from that background. Mm-hmm. So I think I was just kind of brought up with, if the law tells you to do this, friggin' do it.
Yeah,
like,
and
don't question it. You can't do your own thing and it turns out well because it doesn't.
Yeah, and
I think that's just my problem.
Fight
I can't
the system.
overlook
yeah,
that.
He's the do what he thinks is
fight
right.
The power.
Yeah. And I can see why you don't like that. I just I respect that he has morals, and I like a character that has morals.
Oh, for sure. Like I do respect it, but it's just the fact that he's just so self-righteous.
Yeah, it gets to you. I understand that, but I like the movie, the Winter Soldier, because that's one of the first ones that they switched up the genre a little bit. Like, so like the first set of movies in the MCU are all just action, just straight up action comic book movies. Whereas once you got to Winter Soldier, they decided, okay, let's throw the espionage twist in it, right? Like, they're not spending the whole time fighting. Yeah. They have to do a little more of an investigation, right? Like, they end up at the old...
they lean a little heavier on the Black Widow's, like, not special powers, but
abilities.
Her skill
set.
Yeah,
exactly, and skill set. And I like that they did that, right? They brought her into... I'm always happy to see Scarlett Johansson more. But that's what I liked especially about that movie. So that's why it's in my fourth position. And then last on my list of 5 would be Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one as well, as you, because it was just a fun, good movie of like introducing me to a bunch of characters I'd never heard of, like never, ever even like had a kind of idea. Like Iron Man, I knew I could point at Iron Man and be like, that guy's Iron Man. Didn't know anything other than that before Iron Man came out. But when it came to Guardians of the Galaxy, I had no idea, and it was like, if you told me it wasn't a Marvel movie, I would have still gone and seen that movie. And that's a pretty big thing for me, because I don't always venture out into too far out into territory, but that movie just, like, the first trailer just catches your eye with they did such a great job with all the amazing effects and the color and just the wacky, fun humor between the different characters who are just all clashing. And I always love a band of outlaws. Like any story with a band of outlaws is just my thing. Like, I just love people who are just like a little, not criminals, just outlaws. Like, they're not like terrible people. They're just not the most law-abiding citizens.
They're in it for themselves.
Yeah, well, they're just looking out for themselves because they had a rough life, and I can connect with some of them because of that, right? Like, they didn't always go down the right path, and they didn't always have the right opportunity, and they don't do it to be like, they don't do it to hurt other people. They do it just to try and like get by,
to benefit themselves. Yeah.
Which is selfish, but like, everyone's a little...
They're outlaws.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're outlaws. That's why I like them. Like, they're and they don't, like, they're not apologetic about it either, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
they know they
know who they are, and they're like, this is who I'm going to be, and this is how I'm going to do it. So that's why the Guardians of the Galaxy is on my list. It's just a great fun. Like, it's a movie I would see even if it wasn't a Marvel movie. And
see, I saw that movie 3 times within the first 3 days that it came out.
Yeah.
I went with Craig. I went with someone else, and I went with my brother in those first 3 days.
Me and you might have seen
I gotta
that
tell you,
together.
maybe it was
Very
you,
possible.
yeah.
I think I was still in Welland at that point.
But I saw it and I loved it. And truth be told, before that movie, I was not a huge Chris Pratt guy. Like, I had only really ever seen him as, what was his name, Andy on Parks and Rec.
I had never heard of him.
He was just one of the. He was one of those guys. I was like, man, he's just so dumb. I'd only ever seen him in that and movie 42.
Oh yeah, full set.
And it was just, I couldn't. He was just one of those dumb guys. I was like, nope, I can't do it. He always played a dumb guy.
Yeah.
And then he came in there and he played, kind of the badass. And then from there, he did, was it Passengers? He did the remake of The Magnificent Seven, Jurassic World. And like I've seen all of those in theater.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, he plays that role of just kind of a smug, just badass enough guy.
Yeah, and you kind of love him for it because he's kind of like I've always seen him as like the new Han Solo, like our new Harrison.
A guy
Ford.
who just happens to be a hero because the situation needed him to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it worked out, but it's also like they're good people still. Like you know what I mean? They're good, like deep down when it's required, when the galaxy needs saving or the galaxy needs guarding.
When it's yeah.
See what I did there?
I like that. I like what you did there, where you use the name.
Use the name to refer to the movie. So that's my favorite. That's another reason why it makes the list, man. Because they say the name in the movie, which we all know is one of Scott's favorite things.
Scott loves it. Scotty loves
I
it.
love it. Like, and they say Guardians of the Galaxy at least once in that first one, I think.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure at the end he's like, "We're the Guardians of the freaking Galaxy,"
Yeah.
or something. No, that's the second one. But I'm pretty sure they call themselves the Guardians of the or someone.
Well, see,
maybe
he
it's,
refers to them as the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then when they've got the stone, he's like, "How?"
That's what it
and he's
is,
like,
yeah,
"We're
yeah.
the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch," and they blow him
That's
up.
what it is. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Ronan's a puss. Yeah.
Exactly. Such a puss.
What do you think, Craig? Do you like our lists?
I like your
anything you got to
lists.
check?
Which ones of these have you seen, Craig? Because we know you haven't seen them all.
I did not see Age of Ultron.
Any of them?
No,
Okay.
I saw most of them. Thank you very much. I did not
That's
see.
good.
I still haven't watched Age of Ultron.
Oh, really?
My list was mostly made up of things that you guys referenced, and I went, "Oh yeah, I did see that." So I don't have as many detailed answers as you guys do, so I'm just going to give a blanket set of criteria. My list is in order of did I enjoy it? And if it's on the list, it's because I remember having seen it and enjoyed it.
That's
so,
fair. That's fair. We can't ask much more than you.
in somewhat of an order, I would put both of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies at the top two, and then the two Thor movies because I definitely enjoyed them. And then because it was brought up, Captain America the Winter Soldier, just because I forgot that it existed, so it ended up in the bottom of my list. But I do remember enjoying it, and that's why it's on there.
I feel like of all the Marvel movies, that would be the one I thought you'd like the most because it's the least superhero-y. Because it's not like Captain America is only like super strong, right? So it's not like he's doing anything too crazy. You know what I mean? So I'm like that. I feel like that would connect with Craig the most.
I like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I thought it was the blonde hair for Captain America.
Yes.
I thought they had that.
They have that in common.
that. Or why he liked Thor so much. He liked the long flowing blonde
exactly
hair.
that's pretty much the thing that's in common, and then
That's
Guardians of the
fair.
Galaxy.
That's fair. I just rewatched the two of the Thors over the weekend, and for our lead up, it's a little promo for our.
Check out our 3 videos on or 4 videos on YouTube and Facebook.
Our countdown to Thor Ragnarok series. Yeah.
Speaking of which, by the time you guys listen to this, that will have more than likely become a cinematic blockbuster in theaters. We will definitely discuss that next week when all of us and all of you have the chance to listen or go watch that movie.
But we
That was some shameless promoting.
not too many spoilers though next week because we still have to give it a week of release before we can spoil anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's the rule.
That is the rule. And we
Well, technically, it'll have a week of release by the time we get this out to the people.
Yeah,
It'll have 9 days.
that's true. Well,
10 days.
looks like Andrew
Thursday
has
through
lawyered the
Sunday.
situation. So
Yeah,
if you hadn't
lawyered
seen it by
Lawyered.
next Sunday, don't freaking listen because
We might
it's gonna
spoil
be full of
alerts a
spoil-
little bit.
this is
We're
your
not-
1 week in advance
Yeah.
spoiler alert. And another spoiler alert, it's probably just going to be spoilers for me, and I won't have to see it.
We'll give you the BBM updates, Craig.
Because my priorities are in order, and I'll probably go see it. We'll see. Who knows?
That's fair.
Do we want to move on to questions that we got on
Questions and
our
comments.
lovely social media profiles? Yes, comments. Can't
So,
forget comments.
so this week we got another couple that were tossed out at us. One in particular I'd like to touch on. It's my dear friend Corey Madalena. He hit us back after listening to us give him a quick little shout out last week for dragging my pussy ass to horror movies. He hit us up with the I have a question for your next segment. It may be kind of late to answer this considering you guys talked about horror in this podcast, but did you guys see the New Mutants trailer? Being a fan of horror, I loved the new style they took with this X-Men movie, and I'm not noticing a trend with studios trying to incorporate more genres into superhero movies. Deadpool being comedy, Logan being a western, etc. My question is, first of all, do you think the New Mutants looks good? And what do you think of studios incorporating genres into superhero movies? Does it work? Is it effective or dumb? Scott, you want to touch base on this one?
So yeah, I first wanted to thank him for the question. I thought this was a pretty interesting question. I kind of touched on this before when we were talking about Winter Soldier, but I love when studios do this cross-genre thing with superheroes. I think it actually started, in my opinion, with actually Ant-Man, which you mentioned before, which was a comedy. It kind of started around that time with it being more of a action comedy.
It was more of a fun, like a funny movie as opposed
exactly,
to...
and a heist too,
Yeah.
right? So it's a heist, it's a comedy heist, and then a superhero movie, in my opinion, right? Because he doesn't do too, like, he does do some superhero in, there is some superhero in, but your friend's name was Corey, right?
Yeah, Corey.
Yeah, Corey. So
Corey,
Corey,
you got it right.
yeah. So I think he's right with it being it's that Hollywood just kind of, they noticed the success of Deadpool and the fact that when they switch up these genres, it draws in more audiences. Because if you make just a pure comic book movie, that's just a pure comic action movie, then you're segmenting yourself from a lot of people who might want to go see a funny movie or might get tricked into seeing Deadpool because they thought it was a romantic one for some reason because it came out on Valentine's Day, or like now with the horror film genre for New Mutants. I think that's going to draw in a lot of people who are only horror fans, because a lot of people who watch we talked about this before, that just watch a lot of horror as much as we watch comic books. And that's how, like, what these doing the cross genres thing I think does is you bring in new people into these universes. They might not like necessarily hop all the way in, but it is a way of like increasing the number of people who are going to go at least see it in theaters, and which makes its appeal a little bit more a little bigger when it comes to them later trying to sell it to Netflix. But what do you sorry
Oh no, I was gonna say I was totally in the same boat with you. Like I like the way that they did it. And like they, first of all, he asked the question, do I think it looks good? It's one of those things that I like the cartoon of X-Men, and the X-Men live action movies have been hit or miss for me.
Very hit or miss.
I've seen them all. I've watched them all multiple times, but
Same.
some of them are better than the others.
Definitely.
This one, I like that it's all. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's a whole new mutant type movie.
Oh yeah.
It has nothing. It doesn't really seem to be too much involved with any previous stuff. It's almost like it's, the original two Fantastic Four movies, and then the new reboot they tried to do. Like technically they're both Fantastic Four,
Yeah, but they're different.
But they have nothing to do with one another. That's the type of feeling I get from this.
Kind of like Legion, yeah.
Plus, yeah, exactly. Plus, like, it really brings me in because it's that it almost doesn't even feel like a superhero movie.
I was gonna say that too about that trailer. That like I watched it before we started the recording actually, and I thought like I said actually before about what movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. It like New Mutants looks like a movie that if you didn't know it was a Marvel, or in this case a Fox Marvel property, you wouldn't know it was a comic book movie. You wouldn't know it's based on a comic book. So I think that they're going more this route because there's a lot of I feel like there's a certain chunk of the population, which is pretty large, that it's still kind of, I don't want to say opposed to comic books, but they're not as into comic books. Like, so when they hear, oh, it's a comic book movie, they automatically tune out. I think that's a big chunk of people. And now the studios, especially with this New Mutants, they're trying to like switch it up and get more people drawn in, but not drawing them in with these are comic book movies, because us comic book fans are going to go see it even if like they're not all in their costumes and stuff, right? Because we want to know what they do with it, right? We're all curious about the characters and the story. Like, we're already slightly invested, whereas general audiences aren't as invested. And I think this trailer did a great job of being able to like draw in just random people, because like people are just going to think it's a horror film, but these people are just have messed up stuff. Like, if you don't know like New Mutants connection to the X-Men, then you'd just be like, oh, how did somebody, like, you wouldn't even know what the mutants are. Like, if you're somebody who doesn't know what a mutant is, then you see the title New Mutants, you're like, oh, that looks like an interesting horror film, not interesting horror comic book movie. So I think they did a really good job of cutting that trailer, and I'm definitely excited to see it.
See, when I saw the trailer, the first thing I thought of immediately was that movie that's coming out. I don't know if it's already out or if it's coming out soon. The Flatliners.
Okay.
Where people are like, they die and then they bring them back, and they've got they're clairvoyant, or they've got like some super strength, or like something comes back with them.
That's the modern remake of the original, right?
Yeah, like I get that. Like, I see this New Mutants trailer, and that's immediately what I thought of. Because it's in that almost like a haunted house type feel when you watch it, like an abandoned asylum type thing where you go through and each room has something wrong with them. Like, between that and just happening to, arrive there like the Flatliners did, where they just happen to get these little extra abilities or whatever.
Yeah, they're not really like, because they're just developing them, I'm assuming. And that's what's like, they don't have control over them yet. Some of them think they're going crazy. It may be, like, the one thing I'm not sure about, but that's because only, like, is I don't know if they know that they're mutants or not. Is this one of the X-Men universes that mutants are a thing, or is it a secret thing? That's one thing I didn't get from the trailer, but I like that it's kind of ambiguous too, because I'm like, I don't know anything about the New Mutants at all, like, whatsoever. When I heard that this was being made, I'm like, oh, I should look that up. Haven't looked it up yet, but I'm excited to see it because
eventually we will, probably closer to when it comes out.
Yes,
but
eventually I will get to reading some of the comics or watching YouTube videos about the comics and making our own YouTube videos about that. Yeah. Yeah. Because we do that.
So to answer your question, Corey, yes, it does look like a good movie, and we'll definitely, probably, maybe, quite possibly, legitimately see it for sure.
Yeah. Before we go on to the next question, just because we brought up Flatliners and I looked it up, the original in 1990 had a budget of $26 million. The movie that just was released in 2017 had a budget of $19 million. It's
wow, so it was made on less.
Well, it's unclear whether this is in 2017 dollars or whether it's like actually assigned to the whether they normalized it for what the time is, or whether it was from back when it was made. But either way, even if it is normalized, that's still pretty good. Anyway, on to the next question.
Okay, so for the next question, this one was another one of those touchy subjects. About it was more or less just our opinion on the Kevin Spacey situation that's going on, and like I said before, we don't want to get too in depth, too political on the podcast. This is a fun, lighthearted place. More or less, the Kevin Spacey movies that have come out, knowing what we know now, I think personally, I still enjoy those movies. I think he's just a great actor who's just a shitty person. Same with anything else that came, that any of these other Hollywood celebrities that have had, things come out against them or about them. The quality of the work that came out was still there. They're just shitty people. Just like, you can go get a cup of coffee at Tim's and, you could have a shitty dude there, spit in your coffee and you don't know about it.
Or,
you still enjoy the coffee, but,
spit coffee?
You see this guy.
Did you really enjoy that spit coffee?
I'm not a coffee drinker myself.
Neither am I. That's what I don't know. I'm like, are people spitting in coffees? Like, I used to do that when I worked at McDonald's.
I really hope not, because I go to Tim Hortons, and I really hope nobody's
don't go to
spitting
McDonald's
in my coffee.
that I work at, because I'll spit in your coffee, but that's just because...
Don't go to McDonald's, don't go to Tim Hortons, you go to Campbellford, and you go next door to Ace Barbershop. to the coffee shop that's located there. They will definitely make you a nice cup of joe.
So Andrew, you bring up. It's interesting that you bring up Tim Hortons as your example specifically, considering that he is a man who died in a fiery crash while drinking and driving in St. Catharines. So I mean, people go to the store with his namesake on it, even though, I mean, by today's standards, he was
Bad
still a
things
terrible
happen.
person. He was kind of, I mean, like we don't really like drunk drivers, but we still
like his coffee and his hockey.
We still go to Tim Hortons, and people still like the Toronto Maple Leafs. So
Some people.
I like Timbits.
Go Sens go.
I could go for a donut now.
So basically, to reiterate, it's kind of like our opening statement again. Hollywood, all of you, not all of you. Some of you are pretty cool people. Halle Berry, love you.
Be good people.
We're just gonna come out and say, you guys as a whole,
Be good people.
everyone in general,
Everybody,
be good
just be
people. Everyone be good people. Make good movies so that we have content for the show.
And TV shows.
That's it.
We like TV shows too.
Documentaries.
Dudes.
Oh yeah.
Dudes, what did you guys watch this week?
Craig, why don't you go first? Because I'm guessing you have got a short list. Because mine's longer.
My list
always.
is okay. So I guess the first place I'll start is me and my brother Steven. We went and saw the new Kingsman movie, and
We talked about that's a nice callback to another episode.
Yeah, well, you see, that's how I am.
Did you go on my recommendation? Is that why you
wanted?
No. I tried my best to convince him to go see either. Oh man, I can't remember what the other movie was. I wanted to go see Suburbicon, but he wouldn't go for it.
That one looks really good.
I plan to see that this week, but we saw the Kingsman movie instead, and it started out with I couldn't really decide if I was going to enjoy it just because they're so damn creative with their camera angles, and about midway through, I made the decision that entire thing is over the top anyway, so I'm just gonna go with it.
Well,
it's time to just embrace it and let it happen.
Exactly. So it's just like this entire thing is ridiculously over the top.
Have you seen the first one?
So I did see the first one, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I kind of had an idea of what I was expecting, but I only saw it once, and it was a while ago, so I don't really remember.
Yeah.
So that was one. Just because it's on the top of my head now, last night, rather than continue watching Stranger Things, which is another one I'm going to get to, I watched a new special that showed up on Netflix by a gentleman named Judah Friedlander. And it is a strange Netflix comedy special, where most of them are like super produced in a theater. This one was basically recorded on hand cameras in black and white in different, I think it was in the same place in New York City, but from different nights, and it's just snippets of his bits together. Most of it's crowd work, which is always impressive.
Yeah.
So that was pretty entertaining. If you like weird, it's good to go. And then I watched season 2 of Stranger Things, but the thing I wanted to talk about the most, last weekend, I sat down and I watched a little movie called Black Mass. I don't know if either one of you have seen that.
Black Mask? No, I have not.
Other than the DC Batman villain, it does not sound familiar.
So it's Black Mass as in
Mass.
Yes,
I thought I heard
Catholicism.
My bad.
No.
See, first I thought you said mast, like a sail, and then I thought you said mask.
I heard
and I was
mask.
Like, okay, let's go with
I heard
it.
mask.
No, Black Mass. It's about a Boston, we'll call him an organized criminal named Whitey Bulger.
Heavy onto the Boston stuff lately, eh, Craig?
Yeah, man.
Boston, lobster, donkeys.
I could not believe how many actors were in the movie. But the thing I wanted to talk about the most is that Benedict Cumberbatch does a Boston accent. And
that's a thing?
I can't decide.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't picture it.
You need to at least watch 20 minutes of it if you don't finish
Google
the
that.
entire thing.
I thought his
YouTube
New
that.
York accent in Doctor Strange was way out there. I can't imagine him doing a Boston accent.
It's so weird because at first I couldn't tell if it was good, and then he keeps talking and it's like, yeah, but I can hear the rest of your voice.
Yeah, you could hear the accent underneath it. You could hear him doing an accent. You could hear him putting on the Boston accent. You're like, you're a British person doing a Boston accent. You're doing a good job at doing it, but I can tell you're British still. Like I can hear it under there.
Like Charlie Hunnam in Sons of Anarchy, where he talks super slow to kind of make up for the fact that he's a British dude trying to be American.
Well, most of the time when you see somebody do an accent, it's a departure from their voice a little bit. So if you
Yeah.
heard their actual speaking voice versus their accent voice, they're nowhere near the same. But with Benedict Cumberbatch, it's like
Gary
that's
Oldman,
totally
who's got
that's totally Benedict Cumberbatch doing trying to do a Boston
Trying to do a
accent,
Boston
and he does it
accent.
for the whole movie.
Is he like a
And he's
co-star? in it, or-
fantastic. Yeah, he's Whitey Bulger's older brother, younger brother. I can't remember. He's got a fairly big role in it.
I just want to hear his
And
voice.
time out.
now.
What name did you just say?
What the gangster's name was Whitey Bulger.
Oh, okay. I thought you said sweaty bulge.
Nope.
And I was like, whoa.
Whitey Bulger, who was played by Johnny Depp, and it just further cemented. I think I sent you a text on this, Andrew. It just further cemented the concept in my mind that I have no idea what Johnny Depp looks like because I couldn't figure out who was playing him.
Yeah, we
Like,
definitely did talk about this.
I don't know what Johnny Depp looks like.
That's fair.
He's in everything, but he plays everything.
And his
He
face
switches
does
up
not
a
look the
lot.
same in anything he's ever in,
Nope.
and I don't think I've ever seen a picture of him, so I have no
He
idea.
probably
what
does that
Johnny
on
Depp
purpose.
looks like.
I kind of know what he looks like because I've been told I look like him a couple times. Me and him have similar goatees. And
See, Scott, for me, you look like what's his name, Kevin from the Backstreet Boys.
I don't.
You know
No,
what I'm
I
talking
don't
about,
actually.
the taller, skinny one. Everyone out there, check it out. Scott Carter, and I'm pretty sure it's Kevin from the Backstreet Boys. They look similar. That's who I would say he looks like.
So I got to look that up now. Kevin from the Backstreet Boys. What? But actually, what did you watch this week besides Backstreet Boys videos?
I actually had another down week. I have not been binging as hard as I usually do, which is disappointing myself. But other than the Flash, Arrow, Legends, that sort of thing,
Yep.
the only movie I really sat down to watch was Priest.
Priest.
I
Okay.
started watching I, Frankenstein. I wanted to get into a little bit of that Halloween mood, which just passed a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, whenever we recorded this. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch Priest. It's got Paul Bettany in it as the main guy, who's a priest. It's got Carl Urban in it, who he's one of those lesser-known actors. He plays the Doc on
Star Trek.
on new Star Trek movies.
Yeah, he's in the new Thor.
But he is.
big machine
I've
gun.
loved him. I've loved him since he played Reaper
In
I'm
Doom?
pretty sure it was Reaper in Doom.
Oh, I know.
Loved
That's
that.
when I first got into it. Like you said, Kyle Urban. I'm like, I know who that is. What are you talking about? People don't know who. But like, oh wait, regular
idea who it
people
is.
don't know who he is. Yeah.
People like me
Three of
have
us
no
know him,
idea.
Craig doesn't. So like I loved it. It was one of those movies. It was way out there, like post-apocalyptic
No, I've seen it. Yeah.
vampire.
I love that movie.
But I thought it was real good. Like another one where Paul Bettany just kind of grumbles to himself, and
forgot-
you're like, oh shit, Paul, what are you
He
gonna
was the one
do?
that was in Legion too, right?
Yes,
Those are
yeah.
the-
Talked
like
about him
those
last
two
week.
are
Callbacks.
identical movies, pretty much. Like he's just one's
I've been
he's a.
I've been on kind of a Paul Bettany
I
binge
can't
lately.
blame
Apparently,
you. What are you gonna watch next? A Knight's Tale.
maybe.
I love him in A Knight's Tale. But is that all you watched this week?
I just love him. Yeah, that and the Flash, Arrow.
Our normal stuff.
I gotta say, on Arrow, like I'm intrigued to find out what John Diggle's been shooting himself up with to get his edge back.
Oh yes.
Part of me kind of hopes it's like a mixture of like Mirakuru and something else.
Yeah, I want it to be like a.
But part of me, like, I don't want it to be something totally new. I want it to be kind of like a new strain of something.
Yeah, I just hope it's not drugs, because that would be lame.
Yeah. Shooting up
Yeah,
heroin so that
or
he
like
doesn't shake
speed.
anymore.
I'll be like, that's lame.
Yeah.
I don't want that. But I want it to be like a, what's it called? Not a less powerful newer crew. So it's like they tried to make their
Yeah.
own. It's not as
Something
powerful.
where he doesn't go
Yeah,
nuts, but he becomes dependent
exactly,
on it.
and he
type
doesn't
thing.
like necessarily get
Yeah.
like the super like he's not all the way up to like Slade's level, but he's maybe like halfway there, right? So it's like they're not as effective, but he's also not going to go as crazy. But he's going to get addicted
my
to it.
My guess on the direction this is probably going to go, and it could be right, it could be totally wrong. I think he's going to take it. It's going to help him get rid of that tremor he had, and kind of bring him back to who he is. And he's going to get hooked on it, and his body's going to start to deteriorate.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to play later on, where he gets real sick and like he can't really do anything, and then Oliver Queen's got to step back in as Green Arrow because Diggle's like
It was
he's
like a
kind of
coma
out
or
of commission.
something. Yeah.
Like, I think that's the direction it's going to take.
I would agree. I think it's definitely going to go in that direction. I think there's no really other reason for them to introduce that element. Like, otherwise they would have had him go into, like, therapy. Like, unless they're going to do something with it, like some kind of plot point with the whatever he was injecting himself in, then there was no point in them using it. So I definitely agree that they're going to have some kind of, it's going to cause some kind of problem down the road that he has to deal with. If not, maybe, if it's maybe not physical, maybe it's more of a emotional thing with his, like, friends and family. Like, there ends up being a clash, or maybe he becomes,
or maybe he develops like a secondary personality or something.
Starts to go
from
Hyde
like
or
Dr.
something,
Jekyll,
yeah.
Mr. Hyde type thing. Yeah, another callback.
callbacks on callbacks.
Which leads me into my next callback. I really just hope that they don't, like, he doesn't get sick and then Stephen Amell, his character Oliver Queen, has to be like, oh, well, I still can't go back, so hopefully Willa Holland, aka Thea, comes out of this
Coma or whatever.
comes out of this coma, and then she can come and be the Green Lantern. That's another callback to another segment.
You mean Arrow? You said Lantern.
What
You
I
said
say?
Lantern.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Arrow, not Green Lantern.
That's another thing.
We're not about Hal Jordan on this podcast. But that's me. What about you, Scott? What did you watch this week?
I managed to get through a lot because I don't do anything with myself but watch stuff for this. But I watched.
One of us is dedicated.
Yeah, I wouldn't say dedicated. It's more just an excuse. I'm like, oh, those people are like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, oh, I gotta watch something for my podcast. Gotta have that content ready. But what I watched was I watched the 2 Thor movies for those YouTube series, and as a lead up to Ragnarok coming out this week, I watched Civil War and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 also this weekend, just to give me some
heavy Marvel.
It
binge.
was Saturday was very heavy on the Marvel binge. It's been
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh no, not at all. But then I also watched Gotham. I know you don't watch Gotham out of the superhero shows, but
actually, you know what? I did watch. I've gotten back into this season.
Oh, see, that's a good call.
I didn't watch much. I didn't watch any of last season, but I heard that they were doing the Ra's al Ghul like a little bit this season, so I got back into it. Last episode I saw was, I think, last week.
Did you see Solomon Grundy?
I didn't see Solomon.
That was
Grundy,
last week's
no.
actually. That's what I was just about to talk about. They introduced Solomon Grundy.
The last episode I saw was little Bruce ends up knifing Ra's al Ghul.
That's how the episode ends. Yeah.
Okay, and then Penguin gets super kind of whiny for what's her name? I can't remember the name of the girl he was talking to, but she becomes like an investor or whatever in his club. Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah.
And she, she seems to. No, I don't think she deeply cares about him. She's kind of playing him like a puppet.
She is playing him, yeah.
But he totally, like, you just didn't know what the hell was going on, and I really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah, it's like I see where a lot of people were hesitant with Gotham. I've always kind of kept with it because I'm just like, I need a little dose of Batman. I like the different, the different storyline they're going with Batman, with like Bruce Wayne's story and how he's been coming through. If you haven't watched the last season, you should check it out just because they had like Court of Owls and they introduced a bunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had the Court of.
Man, I definitely have to go back and check it out.
So they did the Court of Owls, which leads into why Ra's al Ghul is actually around. Right?
Okay. See, my only real problem with Gotham, why I couldn't get into it, is the fact that they have, they kind of took the Bruce Wayne as Batman aspect out of it, made Gordon more of the main, kind of character. And it kind of took away from me. Like, I always grew up, deeply believing that the reason that a lot of the Batman villains existed was because of Batman.
Yeah.
Like that, I think I mentioned that before, why I couldn't get into it. So that's kind of why it killed it for me. Like, I do like some of the portrayals on it.
And I think I agree with you for the, I kind of partially agree with you on that, like why you wouldn't like it. That's why it's not my favorite show. It's definitely one of the ones that I always forget to get to eventually. It's like, oh, I've run out of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I've Gotham to catch up on still. But I like it in the same way I liked Smallville, because I feel like Smallville had that same problem, which was it was a lot of these villains.
They tried to bring in like so many things into one, and you only have so many episodes to do it.
And I can see why a lot of people are hesitant to that. I'm kind of the opposite. I like them squeezing those things in because I don't read the comics, but I get a lot of comic book references, if that makes sense. Like I don't read a whole lot of, like, I haven't read a lot of comics in my life, but I know a lot about comic books and comic book stories, at least a character, so I get, like, references. So that's what I like about, like, Gotham. It's like, oh, that's kind of a fun way to think of maybe that's how the Riddler came to be. But I agree. I do like in the overall Batman universe, I prefer when, you know, all his villains are villains because of Batman. Like, they're all kind of inspired to be that little bit extra kooky because Batman's kooky, right? Like, does that make sense? Like, the idea of Batman in the Batman universe
for sure. Yeah.
drives them to be the, like, super villains, not just thugs. And, like, so yeah, he does fight a lot of thugs.
There's one wacko out there. Why can't they be wacko? Like, that's how I always kind of looked at it.
Exactly, and I agree with you on that. But Gotham, this episode is what I was trying to get to, was that they do introduce Solomon Grundy, and it's pretty awesome the way they do it, and he's a pretty cool portrayal. That's actually one of the characters.
I'm definitely have to look into that, because I love me some Solomon Grundy.
Yeah.
Mainly because he was born on a Monday.
They bring that song in too. That's
you gotta love it,
because they show his just straight up origin, right? And it's just like, oh, that's cool.
Okay.
And then you see him like,
to go in depth into like how
it's like
how he
5.
dies and
Yeah, well,
everything.
he's already dead in Gotham. He was killed in the last season. I'm sorry to
Okay.
spoil that.
They had okay.
But yeah, so he's already been dead. Or no, he was in a coma. My bad. He was in a coma.
Okay.
So the character he's Butch. I don't know if you remember Butch, but Butch was like Penguin's big muscle guy, and eventually gets his hand cut off. But he eventually got shot in the head during the second season. Was in a coma for a bit, and then in this episode, I'm not going to ruin the episode for you, so you can watch it. But he ends up getting something happens and he turns into Solomon Grundy. I'm not going to ruin it for you because it's a funny scene to watch. I don't want to ruin it too much for you or any of the fans.
I definitely have to look into it.
But Gotham, I think, is fun to go. Like, if you just, it's only 45 minutes, so it's, you know, if you just want to put it on the background. I'm never too focused on it. I usually put it on when I'm like working on some notes for the podcast or something. But it is kind of just funny to watch sometimes. I think like it's a good time for me. It's more of a comedy for me than it is anything, because it's just kind of,
you can't take it too
you really
seriously,
can't,
right?
because Bruce Wayne in it is just like he's
like
I can't believe that he's going to be Batman one day, because he has such this like whininess to him. Like, he's not too,
he's a little brat.
Yeah,
he's a
he
brat.
has such a
is what he is.
bratness to him, and it's just like even when he's not trying to be.
No wonder Alfred wants to beat his ass. Like, he has.
That's
to.
another highlight I actually wanted to mention too. Was Alfred is one of my favorite portrayals. That Alfred in the show, he's one of my favorite just because he's such a badass.
He's got he portrays that, you know, that
he's straight out the military.
Sarcastic. Yeah, like the animated ones, even you see that he's kind of a snarky, you know, very well put together, you know, older guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he, you know, who has that kind of, you know, that very crisp, you know, military mentality.
Yeah, well,
and I do like that aspect of the show.
Yeah, I like that you see his
Where
like
he's not
badass side a little more often, because he's not
Yeah.
he's not into, like, in 10 years, yeah, he'll be at the age where he's not going to go running around punching people to save Bruce, but in 10 years Bruce won't be 15 anymore, or 16. That's the one problem I do have with the show. I have no idea how old Bruce Wayne is, or Selena Kyle for that matter, which
I swear to God,
which is
in
a
the
problem.
First season, he was like 10 years old.
I thought so too.
And I thought Selena Kyle was like 17. Like, I know girls mature faster, but I was like,
this is
weird. Kind of weird. Why are they
And
buddies?
now this season they have her dressed in certain things that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be looking at your character right now, because I have no idea.
I know you're 18 in real
I
life.
hope so.
How old are
but
you?
like, is the character 18? Because that's still a thing. Like, I don't want to be like watching a show and be like, ooh, oh wait, come on, put a disclaimer, guys, help me out, help a brother out. I should look up her to see how old that actress actually is.
Just so you
just
know,
so I can feel
just so
better,
you know
because
if you're creepy.
like, they put her in these like leather pants, and I'm just like, that doesn't seem right if she's under 18. There should be laws against these kind of things, like, to save us, just all of
In
us
TV,
humanity.
yeah, for sure.
Like, just don't.
Yeah.
I don't encourage those kind of things. But I also
This is how Hollywood gets in trouble.
exactly just stick to being good people. But besides Gotham, the last thing I did watch that I had managed to write down, besides all our DC shows, was I finished Big Mouth finally.
Hey, it's
Finally.
about time.
Yeah, I did have 2
How was
more
the
episodes.
Pornscape for you?
I really enjoyed Pornscape. I always loved, like,
I hope no one tunes in right at that part. I love Pornscape.
It was a good episode.
when I heard the name, I'm just like, I almost wanted to go look up if that was already a porn site, because I'm just like, that seems like a good name. That seems like it already should be
porn
taken. I'm like,
world.
why is it a hub? Why Why is Pornhub a thing? Like the popular thing. Pornscape should have been the popular one.
Forgot to Grow Up does not promote Pornhub, just so everyone's aware.
No,
Yep.
not yet.
We're much bigger
Wink,
fans.
wink.
of
Yeah,
Pornscape.
if they contact us, we might consider it. Probably not, but we might.
Probably
we
not.
Might if there's enough zeros.
Maybe.
If there's like 7 zeros, I'm gonna say anything.
If there's like 2 zeros, I'm down, guys.
Oh, you're cheaper than I am for that.
I got bills to pay,
That's
bro.
true. So do
Man,
I. I need a
I'd
new
take
car.
a $5. I'm kidding.
I'd take a bucket of chicken right now, actually, because I'm kind of hungry.
It's all about when they come to you, right?
Exactly. Depends on what time of the day. If they get me at the wrong moment, I might accept like a bottle of water because I'm just like thirsty.
I'm thirsty. Damn. Wake up in the morning, you're running late, you don't have time to brush your teeth. Hey, talk about Pornhub, and we'll give you this pack of Scotch Mints.
All right.
And you're like, damn, let's do this.
Get the phone out, make a quick video, put it on YouTube. You know, it's our thing. But
That's our thing.
that's all the stuff I watched this week. And I think that's most of the. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about today?
Before we go, I just want to toss out a quick thank you to Nicole Wingrove, the person who designed our incredible artwork, our little logo, and our website, our graphic
our
and
website, yeah.
website designer. If you guys need any work done, definitely go to her. Toss your business at her. She is unbelievable. She dives right in. She makes it work to perfection. Like, you've seen our cartoons, obviously, because you're watching and listening to this. Looks just like
Only
us.
the people watch.
Check her out. Nicole.
Just so they can see those, yeah.
Yeah.
Nikole, the word double, and then the letter U on Instagram. Check her out. Send her a message. Get your work done by her. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks for the artwork. We really love it. It's great.
It's my favorite picture of me.
Yeah. I would have to agree too. My hair is never like I don't want to say
Never
I don't
looked
want to say
better.
never look better because you're my barber, and my hair does look pretty good most of the time.
I gotta
But
say, in that picture, my hairline's not receding, and I'm probably 50 pounds lighter. I love it.
I like how she actually like managed to put the space in between my mustache and my beard because
Yeah.
that's 100% accurate. Yeah, I'm looking at the picture
Oh.
behind you.
Now that I'm looking
Yeah.
at it, it's totally true. She nailed
Yeah,
it.
it's 100% accurate. But
You guys got anything to add?
just
I
to for
don't have anything to add.
I just wanted to add, if you guys haven't already, make sure to check out our Countdown to Thor Ragnarok videos. That's the only promotion I'm going to do for my YouTube videos right now. But yeah, check that out on our YouTube channel if you guys haven't already.
You guys got any question about Thor or anything else? Make sure you hit us up. Comment, like, share,
Yeah.
subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell everyone
Tell
else.
us what you think of Thor if you see it over the weekend. No spoilers, please, in the comments. We can't guarantee we'll have seen it, but if you want to ask us any questions or leave any comments, we always love receiving them. And as the people who have left them so far have noticed, we will shout them out all the time because we have a small enough community right now that that's easy. It's really
Because we
easy.
love
There
you.
are 6 of you.
There are 6 people. If you each asked one question, we would be able to still answer them all. So go ahead. We don't mind. We love it.
Okay, well, seems like it's it for episode number 4, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Be good, everyone. Be good
Be
people.
good people. That's what we'll leave it off with. Be good people.
Exactly. Be good people.